Judgment is expected tomorrow in the latest bid by former President Jacob Zuma. He wants State Prosecutor Billy Downer removed from his corruption trial. This comes after Judge Piet Koen dismissed the application in October last year. Zuma's lawyer, Dali Mpofu, says the former president now wants the matter to go to the Supreme Court of Appeal, as he feels the case is being treated differently from others. eNCA senior reporter Siphamandla Goge following developments. Let's cross to him for the latest. Hello, Sipa. So, what can we expect tomorrow?
We can expect very brief proceedings tomorrow. Judge Piet Koen of the High Court will enter the courtroom and he will hand down that judgment whether he grants or denies former President Jacob Zuma's application for leave to appeal his earlier judgment, whereby he dismissed the former president's application during that special plea where he wanted, or where he still wants, the state lead prosecutor, Advocate Billy Downer, to be removed from prosecuting his corruption trial. His legal team has argued that Advocate Billy Downer is compromised. He is heavily involved in the matter. He has personalized the matter. He will not be able to give the former president a fair trial. The state has dismissed that, saying, well, hang on, whatever allegations we are raising, they are not true because they have been raised in the past. They have been dismissed. Advocate Billy Downer is the best man for the job. He knows the case in and out. He's been involved with the matter for a very long time. So tomorrow it's the judgment by Judge Piet Koen of the High Court sitting in Pietermaritzburg. He will be ruling on whether to grant the former president his application for leave to appeal to go to the Supreme Court of Appeals, where he still wants to see Advocate Billy Downer removed from prosecuting his trial. He alleges that, well, he will not get a fair trial should Advocate Billy Downer continue with the matter. Earlier on, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on the 31st of January this year, former President Jacob Zuma's legal team argued that, well, they are of the view that another court may arrive at a different conclusion, may actually grant them that application for leave to appeal, because they feel that they have got strong grounds and they feel that Judge Piet Koen and the Pietermaritzburg High Court erred when they decided to dismiss the former president's special plea application. Let's take a listen to Advocate Dali Mpofu arguing on the 31st of January on behalf of former President Jacob Zuma.
There is always this innuendo that President Zuma, and I accept that Mr. Breitenbach did not make it, but out there, that all these points that he's raising are points which are to avoid the trial. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. He is entitled to all the protections that are provided by our law, by our constitution, and by Section 106(1)H in particular, not to be tried by a prosecutor who harbors ill feeling towards him, or at least that he perceives to be. And my Lord, those so-called experts and commentators who accuse all of us of this, fail to answer one simple question. If it is President Zuma's intention to do that, then why does the National Prosecuting Authority and the state not call his bluff? Why? Why do they have to? We have to go through all this so that Mr. Downer must prosecute. Are there no other prosecutors in this country? If there's anyone who's delaying this trial unnecessarily, it is them. Because they should have said, okay, we know he's doing his tricks. Let's call his bluff. We will remove Advocate Downer. We will concede he's non-entitled to prosecute, even if we don't like it. And we'll bring Mr. Van Graan or whoever who's going to do the prosecution. No, they must cling and hold on for dear life to this one prosecutor.
Okay, so tomorrow we're going to hear whether Judge Piet Koen believes this should go to the Supreme Court of Appeal. What's going to happen if Judge Piet Koen says, actually, no, there's no prospect of a different decision from the SCA? I'm denying it. And will the former president be in court tomorrow?
The former president will not be physically present in court tomorrow. According to his foundation, they've issued a tweet and a very brief statement saying there is no need for him to be in court. In fact, they are taking that cue from what Judge Piet Koen said on the 31st of January when we were here. He said, well, there is no need for all representatives and all parties to send full delegations or representatives to come to court. They can just send one person to note the judgment. And so tomorrow, the former president is not expected to be physically present in court because proceedings will be very brief, and his legal team will send a person who will come and note the judgment, and so is the state. They are going to do the same, to send someone who's going to come and note the judgment. Should the former president not be successful in his application tomorrow, legal recourse allows him to petition the Supreme Court of Appeal direct. So in other words, he can write to them and say, the lower court has dismissed my application. I'm of the view that you can listen to me. Just give me an ear, hear my arguments. I'm willing to come to you to plead my case. I'm convinced that you may arrive at a different conclusion or decision. If they decide to grant him, then he can go to the Supreme Court of Appeal. But if they decide to dismiss him, then he can still go all the way to the highest court in the land, which is the Constitutional Court. But he needs to argue at the Constitutional Court on the basis of how his constitutional rights have been violated or will be prejudiced by this dismissal from the lower courts. So he still has few options available to him. Simply put, they include petitioning or writing rather to the Supreme Court of Appeal and to the Constitutional Court. And his legal team, together with the Jacob Zuma Foundation, have told us that he will exercise his constitutional rights. He will go all the way to the highest court in the land because he strongly feels that Advocate Billy Downer should not be the one leading this prosecution. But on the other hand, the state has said, you are wasting time here. Let's get on with it. We have already commenced with this matter. You have pleaded not guilty. The trial was set down for the 11th of April to continue. Let's just get on with it. Stop wasting time. There are no prospects of success here. You are wasting your time and you are wasting the court's time. This matter has been dragging for on. Let's take a listen to Breitenbach arguing on behalf of the state on the 31st of January.
I now turn to the question of what the interests of justice require in this case. In our submission, for 5 reasons, an appeal at this stage would be contrary to the interests of justice. In other words, the interests of justice in fact require that the matter now proceed to trial on the accused's pleas of not guilty. The first concerns Mr. Zuma's characterization of his special plea and indeed of the many grounds on which it is based. He relies primarily on prosecutorial misconduct. And he says in paragraph 11 of his application for leave to appeal, that raises the question whether he will receive a fair trial. However, as this court pointed out in paragraph 77 of its judgment and elsewhere, that is an issue best determined when the evidence in the criminal trial has been heard, digested in the light of the conflicting evidence, and the credibility to be attached to the evidence has been properly assessed.
All right, so tomorrow we get that decision from Judge Piet Koen on whether he is going to refer this matter to the Supreme Court of Appeal. But as you've explained, whether they get their wish or not, it seems Zuma's legal team will continue to fight this one. Thank you so much for giving us the background to tomorrow's court decision. Siphamandla Goge in Pietermaritzburg.